And welcome back to College Football Tradition here on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. My name is Bryan Partiga. I'm joined alongside Jacob Vanderford and Lucas Miller. We're here to talk to you about the upcoming Week 13 games. We are closing in on the end of the college football season. The college football playoff rankings are looking pretty similar to what they did last week, especially after the Texas loss. And then we also have James Franklin. He's hired now at Virginia Tech, and that is where we're going to start today. Guys, what was our initial reaction to James taking the job in Tech?
I feel like I kind of called it early on. I don't know if I said it in the podcast or not, or if I said it over text, but I feel like I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, like that would be a really cool hire. It's like back in that neck of the woods. It's a different conference. He gets a fresh start in the ACC. I saw somewhere where he's the only coach outside of Lou Holtz that's coached in three different conferences. I think Lou Holtz was at Minnesota, South Carolina. It was a Notre
Arkansas.
Dame. There was another school.
Arkansas.
Arkansas, yeah. And then we have James Franklin, obviously at Vanderbilt in the SEC, Penn State in the Big Ten, and now Virginia Tech in the ACC. I think the ACC is one of those cupcake conferences where you could come in and I could see him doing pretty well just in his first year. Obviously, you got to lay the groundwork a little bit, but by second or third year, that could be a team that really competes for conference titles moving forward.
Yeah. Lucas, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I saw a few weeks ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, something about him visiting there. Well, it was like right after he was relieved at Penn State. And I kind of thought that that would be a pretty good fit. I think like Virginia Tech matches like not really the his personality, but more of like the way that he like his coaching style. I feel like that would be a good fit for him. That's was kind of my initial thought when I first had seen the rumors about it, and now that I think once I saw that he was actually hired, I would feel like he would be able to get like some of the same recruiting um, access and resources that he had at Penn State, which is obviously what he thrived in, was the recruiting aspect of coaching. So I think he'll do a good job with that at Virginia Tech. And if he can get that rolling early and he can get a lot of people bought into that program, I think that they'll definitely do a great job with him at coach.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he has the opportunity to really resurge that program. And Virginia Tech, it's a program that when we look at 15, 20 years ago, was definitely at the top of the ACC, competing for ACC championships. And looking at next year's schedule, that's what we have pulled up here. If you're watching us on Spotify or on YouTube, you can see Virginia Tech's schedule. This is not in order, most of these games, but it's pretty manageable. I mean, VMI, Old Dominion, Maryland, who James Franklin has had his way with at Penn State, James Madison, who we know is good this year, but that's your non con. So I think it's very manageable, very easy. I think if they were to start 4-0, if those games are all the first four games, that is, which it looks like they are. Obviously, you have Virginia, who's down, Boston College, who's down, Cal, who's down, Clemson. Is there a better time to play Clemson over the past 17 years other than maybe this upcoming year? I don't know. Obviously, at Miami's tough. Georgia Tech will be tough. NC State and Pitt are always toss-up games over the past decade. But when I'm looking at this schedule, I'm like, man, this is a place where he could probably go in and win. And we know James Franklin. He's recruited well at Penn State. He's recruited the DMV very well. Now he'll be, pretty much the same proximity away from that region of the country. So I think he's still going to do well recruiting wise. And like I said, this is a good time to be an ACC coach.
I'm curious about some of these games too, because a lot of these teams are going to be in transition, especially at the quarterback position moving forward next year. You think about Miami, Carson Beck's got to be leaving. Georgia Tech, Haynes King's been there forever. Virginia, you got Chandler Morris. So a lot of these teams are going to be in that transition phase. And so if you can catch them while they're down, like you were talking about with Clemson as well, this definitely could be a year for Virginia Tech to really jump in and win some games.
Yeah, I think this will definitely be something that I keep an eye on throughout the spring, is especially in the recruiting process, what Virginia Tech can do and who Franklin's able to bring in there. That's going to be something that a lot of people will probably be interested in throughout the offseason.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, it's something that's interesting as well is that he took a massive buyout from Penn State, but that buyout is significantly less now. We talked about it being in the upper 40s when he initially got fired out of State College, but now that he took this Virginia Tech job, that number dropped significantly. I believe I saw it was only about 9 million now, which is crazy. So, James Franklin loves to coach. He's someone who, in his press conference, he also thanked previous coach Brent Pry for his service to Virginia Tech and what he's been able to build there over the past decade. Obviously, they have coached together in numerous spots as well, those two guys. So James Franklin, just kind of a stand-up guy. I think a lot of people are rooting for him. Even a lot of Penn State fans, I think, are rooting for him too. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there as it moves forward. Um, After that, guys, the college football playoff ranking came out again last night. What were some of our initial reactions as we looked at the rankings? The top three remained the same. Georgia moved into that four spot after Alabama lost to Oklahoma at home. We saw Miami move up a few spots. We see a lot of Big 12 teams, most notably Arizona State, making their way into the top 25 as a three-loss team. Texas takes a big drop to number 17. But what were your guys' reactions to the rankings?
You can go first, Lucas.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty happy to see Texas Tech jump up to the fifth spot. I think that's a good spot for them. They have, well, I believe the one more game that they play, and then it would be the Big 12 title game for them. I think they're at a really good spot at five. The only other thing that I was really like kind of surprised about, I guess, was between Notre Dame and Miami, between like where they are. Notre Dame's still up in the top 10, sitting at nine. I think that Notre Dame's very good. I just would still be a little bit hesitant to having them that high. I think Oklahoma being above Notre Dame is good since they had beaten Alabama. Um, but it's still, I think the only thing I would complain about is probably Notre Dame. There's a couple teams near the back end that they like just came in to the top 25, which would be like Tulane, Houston, Missouri, and Arizona State. I think Tulane's sitting at a pretty good spot as well. It seems as though that they would have somewhat of control over the group of five spot right now. It's kind of like they control their own destiny, I would think, going into the last weekend or last two weekends. So I think that that's really great for Tulane. I think that their coach had said something about he doesn't think that they're one of the best teams getting in right now, which I thought was kind of interesting. It might be like a little extra motivation for his guys. I'm not sure. But I think that between Tulane being at 24 and then Texas Tech being at five, those are two of the teams that I think these rankings specifically show that they're at a really good spot.
This might be weird of me to say, but I'm gonna say it. I think the AP top 25 got it more correct than the CFP, just on the basis of I'm looking at between 20 and 25, those rankings. I feel like having James Madison and North Texas, those teams in your top 25, getting that group of five recognition in there. James Madison has a strong chance of getting into the CFP. Even North Texas could sneak in there. So you never know. So I think I really like seeing those two teams getting representation in the top 25. The other thing that I was surprised about was the Alabama drop. They dropped six spots, which is pretty crazy to me. Even losing to a team like Oklahoma, like Oklahoma's a strong team, and I think Oklahoma should have bounced Alabama, but I don't think that Alabama should have dropped that much to the 10th spot. I think Notre Dame should be behind an Alabama team just because Alabama has beat better teams, top 25 ranked teams, more so than Notre Dame. I believe Notre Dame's only beat one top 25 ranked opponent. And so that's one of those things that I was surprised on. Everything else, I feel like they've done a good job with. Georgia Tech, I think, still deserves a chance at that ACC spot in the CFP. But I mean, obviously, losing the way that they have to an NC State team doesn't do them any favors. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to continue to shake up as we go. Texas A&M obviously would have dropped a lot if they would have lost to SC. I'm curious why they didn't drop them maybe one spot lower just based on that performance and maybe moved up Georgia or Texas Tech even further. But I think those kind of top five, six teams makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like the top five. I think I'm a little higher on Texas Tech than a lot of people are for sure. And I'm also higher on BYU. I think, they got punished pretty heavily for that one loss that they had. And then they obviously went out and smoked TCU at home this past weekend. When I look at the ACC, though, Miami does not control their own destiny in conference. Georgia Tech and Virginia seem to be on the fast track to get into that conference championship game. So Miami, I love that they moved up a few spots this upcoming week because I think after last week, there was a lot of backlash of why Notre Dame was not only ahead of them, but significantly ahead of them. And I really like that that kind of has shrunk down. And I think once we get to the end of the year, if all 12 games are complete and Miami has a win over Pitt, obviously at the end of the year, I think did they also play Georgia Tech? Is that a game they have?
I have to look. I don't think
Yeah,
so though.
Uh, yeah, well, they play Pitt to close the year. I feel like if Miami's 10-2 and Notre Dame is 10-2 and all 12 games are complete, I do think Miami will be ahead of the Irish, if that's how the season plays out. So I'm glad that that margin has shrunk a little bit. One thing I really don't understand is Tennessee and Missouri. Tennessee has one win over a team at 500, and that is Kentucky. They have no other wins against teams even above 500. It's just Kentucky who's 500. They're 5-5. That's their only win over a halfway decent opponent. That team might still not go bowling. And then Missouri, they only have one win over a team that's 500, and that's against Kansas. And that's not even in the SEC. So Missouri and Tennessee both only have one win against a team that is 500. None above that. That's it.
Yeah,
So
that's
when
pretty
I'm looking
bad.
at that, like we're giving them quality loss points at this point. And I know Missouri in all three of their losses played tough. And I think that they're a good team. But at the end of the day, you do need to beat teams. We're talking about Kansas and Kentucky here, folks. Two basketball programs. That is who Tennessee and Missouri have beaten this year. That's it. That is it.
Mic drop. Yeah, I have nothing to follow up with that. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Tennessee deserves to be in there. I don't think Missouri totally deserves to be in there. I mean, they should probably be like on the verge of that top 25, but there are definitely more deserving teams that I think deserve those spots.
Yeah, I would just wonder if, like, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't want to think that this would be the way that the committee would think of it, but if you're putting Missouri and Tennessee in there just to have like ranked wins for some of those top SEC teams, but then at the end of the day, I think I would rather see James Madison and North Texas along with Tulane rounding out the top 25.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think North Texas is getting a little bit of disrespect here. Like that game against USF, it was close for a while before it got out of hand, but they're 9-1. They beat Navy, who's sitting at 8-2. They beat a decent Army team, and they beat Western Michigan. Western Michigan won again last night. They currently lead the MAC, and I do think that that is a semi-quality win that should merit them a spot in this top 25. Like, do I think North Texas would beat Tennessee? No, I'm not saying that. But when I look at the quality wins, I'm like, at least North Texas has some of those. Where Tennessee, it's just quality losses. So that's kind of, I think we're all in agreement there, where it's kind of just difficult to kind of see where the committee's coming from with some of this. But like you said, I hope it's not just to give some of those top teams better resume at the end of the day, I guess. Okay. As we get into this upcoming week, we're in week 13 now. Indiana sitting at 11-0. They don't play this week. Next week they got Purdue. Are they a virtual lock for the playoff? Like no matter what happens?
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious, do you think it'll be an Ohio State Indiana matchup in the Big Ten title?
I think so. I don't. Do you got? I don't know all the tiebreaker scenarios. I think
I would hate for
Michigan.
that to happen though. Like if like one of those teams, oh, I mean, even if one of those teams loses, I think they're still in the playoff. Like that's going to be one versus two. Like
Oh yeah, they're still in the playoff and they are probably still getting a bye.
yeah,
Um,
it's just about like if they want to rest their players and everything.
For sure. I think Indiana, even if they lose to Purdue, is still in the Big Ten title game because they would have a tiebreaker over Oregon. They didn't play Michigan or Ohio State. So I don't know all the scenarios there, but I think it's almost locked up Indiana, Ohio State.
So what if Michigan beats Ohio State again? Would that propel Michigan into the Big Ten championship potentially?
I heard another podcast talking about that this week, and I don't think that they even had an answer because I think if Michigan beats Ohio State, then obviously they would have tiebreaker over the Buckeyes, but would they have tiebreaker over Oregon? I don't. That's where it gets kind of dicey because a lot of these teams don't play each other at all. So yeah. Um, as we get into this upcoming slate of games, do we want to get into some pick 'em?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. We'll start with, I mean, we'll do all the ranked games, and then Lucas, if you have any other ones that you want to throw in here as well, that would also be good as we look at some of those races in the American and also Sun Belt and figure out what we want to do there. Oh, I also forgot to mention James Madison, first team to clinch a conference title game berth.
Go Dukes.
Yeah, the first one to clinch a berth mathematically. So they're already in the Sun Belt title game. Okay, so we'll start with this one. Rutgers sitting at 5-5. They travel to Ohio State, who might be without Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. Thoughts about injuries? They talked about that a little bit, Ryan Day. I think that might be some resting situations going on. I could see that.
They should.
Yeah.
Like,
What do you guys think?
Ohio State's gonna win. I mean, they're on a roll. They're just a juggernaut of a team, and I think they'll be a favorite definitely to win the national championship.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be one of those games where it's like Ohio State just doesn't have their foot on the gas, and it's like one of those games where they only win by like 17 or something when they're favored by like 32 and a half. But either way, I think Ohio State's going to win that game. Like it might be a little bit close just because of the fact that they seem to be doing that this year. But yeah, Ohio State definitely will win that one.
Okay. I also have Ohio State, and I was just looking at like who's the leading statistics guys in this game. Antoine Raymond, the running back for Rutgers, I love his stat line. It's so clean. He has 200 carries for exactly 1,000 yards. Like that's
Wow.
just beautiful, averaging 5 yards a carry. He's a good little back. They've been able to develop some running backs over the years, but I also have Ohio State in this one. Okay, this one, it's a 4 p.m. game on Fox. We have TCU. Man, they've just been struggling this year. Can't they've lost some heartbreakers. They're sitting at 6-4. Obviously, got the bowl eligibility under their belt. They travel to number 23 Houston in this old Southwest Conference battle. Guys, who we got in this one? Lucas, we'll start with you.
I think I'm gonna take the Cougars here. I think that they will be feeling a little bit of momentum from this ranking in the playoff ranking. It's a close spread. It's only at like -1.5, but I think that it's gonna be Houston that wins it, especially playing at home. I mean, TCU, you don't really have. I don't want to say you don't have anything to play for because like you already got the bowl eligibility. But at the same time, I think that Houston just has a little bit more of an edge in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm gonna take TCU in this game. I think they have something to prove after that BYU just total letdown. They got to get it together though. Hopefully this week of practice was able to kick things into gear. But I think TCU goes in and stuns the Cougars.
Okay. Man, I'm gonna go with Houston in this one. TCU, their offense has been sputtering. I believe I saw this statistic by the Sickos committee on Twitter earlier today, but it was something like that TCU is in the top 10 in negative yardage drives this year, which is horrendous. I mean, that offensive line has struggled. They've been unable to really establish the run game in their losses. In their wins, they've been able to, but it seems like they abandoned the run so early. And Houston's a team that if you don't get on them early, they're probably going to make you pay for it. So I'm going to take Houston in this one too. I don't think that their playoff hopes are over either. So Houston Cougars at home. Okay, well, Sanford, who's 1-10, traveling to Texas A&M. We're just A&M on that one, right?
Yeah, for sure, Aggies.
Okay, gotcha. um, This one's interesting. Missouri, for some reason, we obviously know is still ranked. They're traveling to number 8 Oklahoma now. Oklahoma probably in a must-win situation because if they drop this game, they will have 3 losses, and Texas also has 3 losses, and it's going to be very hard to justify Oklahoma ahead of Texas when Texas is already on the outside looking in. So who do we like in this one? Missouri at Oklahoma. Jacob, we could start with you.
I'm going to take Oklahoma. I think Missouri's going to drop out of the top 25. This is at home for the Sooners, and they just came off a big win against Alabama. They're going to be just come in, lights out. That defense is great under Venables, and I think the Sooners just keep on rolling into the playoff.
I feel like this is going to be a really close game throughout, but then at the end, I would see Oklahoma pulling away or maybe getting a stop late that helps them get the win. But I feel like this one will be a little bit closer than expected, but I think Oklahoma ends up pulling out.
I need to make up some ground, guys. We need to make up some ground in our picks. And I think this is one of those opportunities that I'm going to take because when
You hate Missouri, though. You're
I
always
hate
hating Missouri.
Missouri.
You're like, I'm picking.
I hate this Missouri team. They're so boring to watch. Um, but man, the Penn State job's still open.
Drink,
And
drink
Drink
with.
has something to prove here with his squad. And I think this could be an opportunity where Oklahoma at home now and John Mateer, if he gets shut down passing wise, Missouri could stomp on them. So I'm going to take Missouri in this one. Maybe they prove why there's a number next to their name. Okay. Number 13, Miami. They're traveling to Virginia Tech. Who do we like in this one?
You can go, Lucas.
I'm going to take Miami in this one. I think even though they ranked, what, 17th, correct? I think they're still sitting at a pretty good spot. Even a road test like this, I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of down on Miami. I don't know that they're that strong of a team, and even if they do make the playoff, I think they might lose their second game. So, but I think they win this one in Blacksburg. Virginia Tech still does not. They just hired Franklin, but he's not the coach yet, and so they're gonna lose this one, drop this game again. I got Carson Beck beating the Hokies.
Okay, I'm also going to go with Miami in this one. I just checked the weather in Blacksburg and looks to be in the 60s and sunny, so shouldn't be a problem for the team from Florida coming in. Miami, lot to prove. They win. All right, Charlotte going to Georgia. Do we need to do this one?
No.
No.
We
Okay.
could pick how many points Georgia wins by.
We could do that. The spread, 43 and a half. We got
Wow.
1-9 Charlotte versus 9-1 Georgia. 43 and a half is the spread. What do we think Georgia wins by?
I think they won by 35.
Yeah, that's such a tough number because it's weird to go over that or under that. I'll just say 42 or over.
Okay, so you're saying 42. Dang. Uh, I'll I'll say 45. Yeah, we'll go crazy with it. Okay. Man, okay, we don't need to do Eastern Illinois and Alabama. There's not even a line set for that game.
Okay.
We'll just
Yeah.
write down Alabama. Okay, give us the free wins, right? Okay, college game day. Number 15, USC, must win situation. This is do or die for the Trojans. They travel to number 7, Oregon. Who we like in this one? Jacob, you go first.
I'm gonna have fun with this one, and I'm gonna say USC. I think they're gonna go in, shock the world in Eugene. They got some fun players on this team. I like King Miller a lot at running back. I like Makai Lemon at wide receiver, and Mayava I think is a good quarterback, and I think he can light it up if he comes in, passes the ball well with a good completion percentage. And just runs around a little bit. I think that can kind of fool the Oregon defense. And Oregon has struggled against some teams this year. Obviously, against Penn State, that was an overtime, double overtime game, I believe. And now you're seeing how much Penn State is sputtering. And so if USC can kind of take some of those things from that game and see what they can do, I think the Trojans can definitely do something here.
Yeah, I'm gonna tail you on that one. I think USC will be able to play pretty quick on offense. I think that not that Oregon can't keep up with that, but I think in the other way. I think that USC's defense would be able to give Dante Moore some trouble, and I think USC will go in there and win that one in Eugene.
Yeah, I got the USC different defense as well, taking control of this one. I think Christian Pierce has been a good player for them. He's good in blocking down some passes this year. And I think, you know, this is a very interesting game for the Big Tens because I think USC, if they win this game, I don't think they really have to do anything else to make the playoff. Obviously, they have to, win their final game, but I think that they would be pretty much locked into the playoff when and nobody was really talking about them because they got Oregon, then they host UCLA at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And if they know that they're going to make the playoff, if they win that, I like it. This is one of Lincoln Riley's best defenses, if not his best defense. So I'm with y'all. I think USC. Okay, next one. Syracuse. Are they going to do anything against number 9 Notre Dame?
No.
Lucas, we can start with you.
Notre Dame.
Jeremiah Love, big game, just tote the rock. I'm curious to see if they rest any players in this game. I think CJ Carr has just improved game after game this year, so I got to take the Irish.
Yeah, I'm going with the Irish as well. I think it's a pretty easy pick. Look out for Syracuse next year. Okay, Kentucky. They're sitting at 5-5 this year. We obviously know that they are Tennessee's best win, and they travel to number 14 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, another team like USC in a must-win situation. I think Vanderbilt is one of those teams. If they win out, with them being at 14 right now, and with some of the games that have to happen ahead of them, I like them to make the playoff if they are to win this one. But wondering what you guys think. Jacob, we could start with you on this.
Man, that would be so fun to have Vandy in the playoff. I'm really hoping that happens, and for sure they got to win this game, so I got to take Vanderbilt in this one.
I feel like it's such a long way to go for them to still get in the playoffs because there's so many teams that are like 8-2. But either way, I think they'll win this game. They were favored by like 9.5. I think they could win by 2 touchdowns or more. So I'll take Vanderbilt.
This is one of those games where like I kind of need to come back a little bit. Kentucky on a 3-game win streak. They beat Auburn, only allowed 3 points. They beat Florida, only allowed 7 points. They allowed more points to Tennessee Tech this past weekend, 10 points. But this defense has come alive late. I'm going with Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Can't do it. I can't do it.
can't do
I
it.
just can't do it. Okay. Next game up. Arkansas traveling to Texas, another former Southwest Conference battle. Who do we like in this one? Lucas, we can start with you.
Longhorns.
Yeah, I got to take Texas too. It's at home. Texas has just had a disappointing year though, like 3 losses. They started out number 1 in the country. Now they're down to 17. I think this is sort of a try to make up some ground game, but yeah, I think Texas is going to take this one.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go with Texas, but man, Arkansas's been in every game. They've lost 8 straight. 6 points to Ole Miss, 1 point to Memphis. They got crushed by Notre Dame. 3 points to Tennessee, 3 points to A&M. What is that? 9 points to Auburn, 3 points to Mississippi State, 1 point to LSU. Man, they've been in every single game. But this game being in Austin, I like Texas as well for this. Okay, got a couple more here.
Who do you think they're going to hire? We got to talk more about that in a future podcast. I'm just so curious about who Arkansas is going to hire.
I have no idea. Yeah,
And I really like Taylor Green. Like, I think he's a great quarterback too. There's so much promise.
a lot of promise. A lot of promise. This one's a really important game in the American. Number 24 Tulane traveling up into Philly to play Temple, who's been pretty feisty this year, sitting at 5-5. Jacob, we can start with you on this.
I got Tulane. I think they got something to prove. I know John Summerall in his press conference this past week really kind of shot them down. Was like, we're an average team, point blank. And so I think this is going to be sort of a prove it game for Tulane as well to make sure that they have that top 25 ranking. And I think they'll hand it to Temple. But I'm really curious to see what happens with John Summerall, though. He's a great coach and definitely could end up at one of those SEC programs.
Yeah, I just don't think Temple has what it takes to handle Tulane. I think Tulane will win that one pretty easily.
Yeah, I also have Tulane. I think that this is a game that I can't really see them losing, not against this defense. All right, there's a lot more games happening between ranked versus unranked than I thought. Kansas State's in at 5-5. They travel to Utah. Kansas State, sputtered at the beginning of the year, and now they travel up to a ranked Utah squad after rattling off a few wins. But I'm gonna go with Utah in this one. Lucas, we go to you next.
Yeah, I'm gonna also go with Utah. I think that um lost my train of thought. I just don't think that Kansas State will be able to compete with them. I think that Dampier and that whole offense, I think they're definitely clicking right now, and they're gonna win that one. Not easily. I don't. I'm hesitant to say easily, but I think that they'll be able to handle Kansas State.
I had such high hopes for Kansas State and Avery Johnson this year, and they disappointed me so much. But I really like this Utah team. Playing at Salt Lake City is a really tough place to play, especially at Rice-Eccles Stadium. And I think Kyle Whittingham, great head coach. You got Morgan Scalley on the defensive side of the ball. That's going to be definitely up for top assistant of the year. And so I got to take Utah. I like Dampier a lot.
Okay, cool. All right, number 18, Michigan traveling to Maryland. Look ahead game for Michigan. What are our thoughts? Jake, we can start with you.
I got Michigan. I think Maryland is going to be a tough team moving forward. I like Malik Washington a lot at quarterback. I think he can move the ball around in the air, but then also has that dual threat ability. But I think Michigan's just going to be too much. I really like their rushing attack. I like that their quarterback Underwood. I think he can do a lot of things with ball in his hands. And I'm curious to see what Maryland does in the future because I know they're locking up with Loxley moving forward as their head coach. So I'm curious if they can do anything moving forward, but I got to take Michigan.
Yeah, I think Michigan last week it kind of scared me that they played that close with Northwestern. I got it was like a neutral site game in a way. Northwestern is obviously tougher than Maryland. I think that Michigan needs to handle this game in the opposite of looking at it. I think they need to play up to what they would play against Ohio State this week against Maryland. I think that they need to be running the ball very efficiently, and I think that that defensive front needs to prepare essentially in this game like they're going to be playing against the Buckeyes next week. So I
For
think
sure.
Michigan.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the Michigan offense has, man, at times looked really, really pathetic, and it's been very hard to watch. I think Bryce Underwood will pan out eventually, but man, they struggled with Purdue. They struggled with Northwestern. Obviously, they needed a field goal to even take the lead and the win last week. I do still have Michigan, but I don't have it being pretty. So Michigan in this one. Really important game in the ACC. Pitt sitting at 7-3. They're traveling to number 16 Georgia Tech. Man, what do we think about this one, Lucas? We can start with you.
I like Haynes King a lot. I like Georgia Tech a lot more than like a lot of other teams this year in the playoff field. They're one of the teams I've been rooting for pretty often. I know Pitt, this is a really big game for them if they want like any outside chance with the playoff, with the fact of getting into the ACC championship. But I think Georgia Tech at home is going to win this one.
Georgia Tech is a weird team, man. Like I love watching them. I think they have great players, but for some reason, it seems like every game is a close game. Like they can't seem to just put their foot on the gas pedal and pound any team into the ground like they should. It's always like a 3 to 7 point game in the end. And so I hope this is a game for them where they can pull away in the end and show the committee that, yeah, we deserve a spot in the college football playoff. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. I think it'll be a closer game, especially with Pittsburgh just having game day last week. I think in the loss to Notre Dame, I think they want to come out and show people that they're a good team. But I think Georgia Tech's going to take this one, especially at home.
Yeah, I got Georgia Tech as well. I mean, the line's only 2.5 right now, but after the way Pittsburgh looked last week, and I know the Narduzzi comments probably didn't help the mojo in that locker room at Acrisure, but I still got Georgia Tech. I think they're the more talented team. I think they're the more experienced team. They have the more experienced quarterback. And we saw what Notre Dame's rushing attack could do against Pitt. Georgia Tech, very similar in that. So I think the Yellow Jackets take this one. All right, number 20, Tennessee traveling to the swamp, take on Florida. Who do we like in this one? Lucas, we could start with you.
I really want to pick Florida with an upset in this game. Um, yeah, I'll just do it. I'll take Florida. I just feel like it's gonna be like one of those random upsets like at the end of the year. Um, I mean, it's in the swamp at night. I just feel like that's going to be like such an electric environment, even though they're 3-7. So I'll take the Gators just for fun.
Yeah, that's a fun pick. I think I'm going to take Tennessee. This is one of their big rivalry games. Knoxville fans are going to travel down there. They're going to be rowdy. And I think Joey Aguilar is just the more talented, more experienced quarterback. And I think he will be able to throw the ball, put up some points, maybe give up a turnover or two, but I think in the end they win. It'll be a close game, but I think they're going to win.
Man, I'm with Lucas on this one. I think that there needs to be a little bit more carnage, and I'm really rooting for it. So Florida for me is that team that's going to cause it, as they have already this year, with obviously the win over Texas, and I think at home playing in this one, um, and man, the games that Tennessee has lost are the games like this against teams that I think could really drag you in the mud, and I think Florida's one of them that could do it. So I think Florida's going to take this one. It'll be close though. That's going to be a fun one over in Gainesville. Okay, number 21, Illinois, traveling to Wisconsin. Who do we like in this one? Jacob, start with you.
I got Illinois. Disappointing year. I think they're still a top 25 team, but I think they expected a lot more. I think they expected to be in that playoff conversation. But I think finishing out the season strong will be good for the Illini. Altmaier at quarterback is a great player. The defense, typically pretty good, but they tend to keep games close. And so I think Wisconsin might be able to put up a few points on them, but I still think Illinois is going to take this one.
Yeah, I'm going Illinois as well.
Okay. All right. I'm also going Illinois. I think we're kind of all in agreement on that. Like Wisconsin's looked better um, throughout the year, so credit to Luke Fickle where it is due. Illinois sitting there at 21, and they're another one of those teams that I like what's happening ahead of them. As far as like long shot playoff hopes, I know next week's only against Northwestern, but if some of these losses occur ahead of them, like I think some of them can and will, then we might be talking about them as one of those first couple teams outside the playoff. Not saying that they deserve it right now. I don't believe that at all. I would not have them in the top 25 if it were up to me, but I think Illinois is kind of recognizing that it's not quite over yet. Number 11 BYU traveling to Cincinnati, huge one in the Big 12, kind of a last hope for Cincinnati, and a really big moment for BYU as far as at large hopes come in that conference. So Jacob, who do we got?
I'm on the BYU hype train. I like them a lot. I think they're going to cause some problems, make some noise on the CFP conversation. I think they're definitely going to make the playoff, and I got to take them, especially for my CFB fantasy league hopes to keep going. So I got BYU.
Yeah, I think this one might be pretty close. I feel like for some reason I see this game as being like an offensive shootout, but I think that Bear Bachmeier and BYU is going to come out on top.
Okay, okay. Man, I'm gonna go with Cincinnati in this one. I don't think that their Big 12 hopes are done yet. And for BYU, in that loss to Texas Tech, I think what I realized was when they get when pressure is put on their quarterback to really just have to chuck the ball and throw it, they don't do well. And Cincinnati is one of those teams that has a strong defensive line. In fact, I think that they're one of the stronger defensive front sevens in the conference. I think that this one ends BYU's playoff hopes. I don't want to say it, but we looked at last year. BYU, I think, lost two out of their last three to really fall out of the college football playoff conversation. They finished the year, I think, 11-2 after the bowl game. Thought they should have got a little bit more consideration, but I'm going to say a similar story happens this year. I like Cincinnati. Okay, number 25, Arizona State traveling to Colorado. This is our last one of the ranked matchups. Who do we like in this one?
You can go, Lucas.
Arizona State. I don't see Colorado. I wouldn't say that they're not going to hang around, but like I just don't see them winning this game. I think that Arizona State will be pretty effective. If I'm not wrong, no, I am wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that Arizona State's going to be able to win this one.
Yeah, Arizona State's just a more talented team. Colorado just has not looked good this year at all. They just have not played well. Haven't you thought the talent was there coming into the season, but just kind of showed throughout the year they weren't able to compete with some of those ranked teams. And Arizona State's one of those talented, experienced teams that I think will end the season in that 9-3. that 9-3 win. So yeah, I got to take Arizona State.
Okay, I'm also going to go with Arizona State. I think we're going to see some more chaos for that second spot in the Big 12, and Arizona State right up there in that conversation. Okay, are there any other games we want to check on?
Yeah, I saw a couple.
Yeah.
Louisville and SMU at 12 o'clock. They're both 7-3.
Ooh, huge one for the ACC. Jacob, who do you like?
It's at SMU.
Yeah,
Hmm. I'm gonna take Louisville. I don't know. I think they're a bit underrated this year. I think they could have done more. I think they could have been one of those teams that had a playoff shot out of the ACC, but they just stumbled along the road. I like Miller Moss a lot. I think their defense is pretty solid. SMU is another one of those teams that just stumbled a lot this year, and they have some talent on the team, but just hasn't really come together. So I think Louisville's going to go in and stun the folks in Dallas, and they'll take this one.
I also like Louisville in this one. I think that they're getting kind of disrespected by not being they're not ranked, I don't think. I don't think they were ranked on
no.
Tuesday. That kind of sucks because I thought that they've done more this year than a Tennessee, than a Missouri, than even in Illinois. So I felt like that they kind of got disrespected. They are a team that their hopes are not completely dashed yet. So I'm going to take Louisville in this one. I know SMU's improved, but SMU also lost to Baylor and TCU this year, so I'm just gonna have to go with the Cards.
I'm
Mhm.
going to take SMU in this one. I think that they can win it at home. I don't know. I'd have to look it up to see if there's any like outside chance of them getting into the ACC championship, but I feel like if there is, this is like the probably one of their biggest games of the season.
Mhm. For sure.
Um, I don't know if you guys want to do this one or not. James Madison is hosting Washington State, who is 5-5. Uh, I don't know if that's something that's on the radar or of being close or not. James Madison's favored by 13.5.
Ooh, James Madison. This is an interesting one because UNT beat the brakes off of Washington State earlier this year.
Right?
So I feel like this is a moment where James Madison needs to do the same if they want to be compared against the top teams in the American. And I say they do it, win and cover for JMU.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. Just judging off of that UNT game against Washington State, I think James Madison has a really strong defense, and Washington State just does not have an offense at all. And so I think those are going to balance out a little bit, and I think James Madison's definitely going to take this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Bryan. James Madison win and cover as well. I don't know if this game has really big implications. I feel like for some reason it does. Duke goes to North Carolina. Duke still being that team that's like kind of the favorite of winning or of getting into the ACC championship, correct? Is that still on the table for them, I believe? Because I
Did
don't
they
remember it was going into last week and that they were one of the teams that was supposed to get in.
I think they still have a chance because like SMU and Louisville play, Miami's the same thing forward to Pitt, Miami play, Virginia and Georgia Tech are washy. So I think that they still have a chance. So
Isn't
I'm
Duke
All right.
5-5?
Yeah, Duke's 5-5.
That would be crazy if they got
it'd
in.
be disgusting. Duke, I want it, Duke.
Yeah, I got Duke too. It's a disappointing year for Bill Belichick. But yeah, I like Duke. I like Darian Mensah.
All right, I'm going Duke as well. Um, there was one other one I think. Let me check very quickly. Oh, I was gonna say, do you guys want to do the Penn State Nebraska game because it's now a whiteout, of course.
I feel like you guys have to.
Lucas versus Jacob. I'm
I
gonna
think
pick Nebraska.
let's.
I
You want to swap? I'll take Nebraska and you take Penn State.
no, I can't do that. I can't take Penn State. I really like TJ Lateef. I really like Emmett Johnson. He's gonna have an above 200-yard game, 250 all-purpose yards, two touchdowns, maybe three. I think it's just gonna be a huge Heisman defining game for Emmett Johnson. He's not gonna get a spot in New York, but I really want it. Yeah, I think Nebraska's gonna take this one. They're gonna go into Happy Valley.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Penn State, I think. No, yeah, they I don't know. This is a really big game for them, especially for their new head coach for now, Terry Smith, but I think that they need to win at home, and then they're going to need to win one more game to make a bowl game, and I think they're going to do both of those things. So I'm going to take Penn State.
Hmm. 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 I don't know. Speaking of teams I'd rank ahead of Missouri, Tennessee, and Illinois, Nebraska is one of them, honestly. Like,
Ah,
if come on, I wouldn't rank them, but ahead of those teams I would. Come on, way more quality wins, not even comparable. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with Nebraska, I guess. Like, sadly, I
yes.
don't want to, but here we are.
Okay, so that's pretty much all the other ones I had. I did want to ask you guys. So this weekend at 2 o'clock, Montana State is playing Montana, which is like that's a big arch rivalry
We're
game.
all of the
Um,
wild, right? Yeah.
yeah, the winner of that game wins the Big Sky Conference and also potentially clinches the 2 seed in the FCS playoffs. So I feel like we kind of have to pick this game.
Yeah.
Montana State, they lost Tommy Merlot from last year. So
Yeah.
I don't know much about these squads. If we talk a little Missouri Valley Conference, I would know a little bit more, but that's tough. I'm gonna go with Montana then for that reason. Yeah, oh Montana.
So Montana's 11-0 and Montana State's 9-2,
Yeah.
if
I gotta
just
pick
for
Montana
record
'cause
purposes.
they're undefeated, 11-0. I just feel like a team that's won all their games, like they got to be strong enough to win one more, you know? Like,
Yeah. All right. I'll be going Montana as well.
That's a fun one though. I'm glad we put that one in there for sure. We definitely have to do an FCS bracket thing between us. For sure. That comes out on Sunday. Those FCS games wrap up on Saturday. Guys, I don't got anything else as we wrap up the show tonight.
yeah, that's
Nice.
it. That's all she wrote.
Perfect. Dang, this is a big card of games. I love it. Love it. Cool. Well, we are heading into the final stretch of the year. 2 games left for most teams. Some MAC games on tonight, so continue to tune into that. Kent State's MAC championship hopes are not over yet. They're not over. That's all I have to say. But for Jacob Vanderford and Lucas Miller, I'm Brian Partika. This is College Football Tradition.